Now we'll go to our second showcase event, this one in the bioeconomy area. I told you that we'd just recently funded Beacon, which is an SFI Research Centre in the bioeconomy, so I'm delighted that Nicholas Holden is here, together with a collaborator. They will be signing an agreement later on about science in farms, funded by the National Science Foundation, Divya, Srinivasan, and they're going to tell us about their project. So Nicholas and Divya, come ahead.
The last time I spoke about the Beacon Centre, I measured its age in days, and it's now just about old enough to describe its age in months, but you only need the one hand to count that number of months. So we're not talking about the history of things we've done in the last few years. We're talking about the exciting things we're going to do in the future. What I'm here to do today is to talk about the formal collaboration that we plan to have in the Memorandum of Understanding between the Beacon Centre and the NSF Research Collaboration Network, Harvest. And to just touch on the acronyms, the network didn't have an acronym when it was proposed and funded. It got an acronym for today, especially so that I could remember what it was called, because its title was so long I could never keep it in my head, but I can remember Harvest. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Beacon, and then I'm going to hand over to Divya, who will talk a bit about Harvest and the network, and then we'll talk about how we plan to collaborate. So Beacon is one of these Science Foundation Ireland-funded research centres. It's a national centre, but it's housed in University College Dublin. It's funded by both the state and industry. In its inaugural form, it has 7 co-PIs and 33 collaborators, which include other funded investigators from academia and industry. And the plan is that it will train about 70 PhD and postdoctoral researchers while delivering an intensive research program. And the RPOs that are involved, the research performing organisations, are University College Dublin, Trinity College, the University of Dublin, Teagasc, NUI Galway, and the University of Limerick. But of course, with all these things, if we get an opportunity to expand, we will. If we can see somebody who should be involved, we will. And this is the first example of that we're going to talk about today. So the bioeconomy is something that I guess we kind of know what it is, but we don't know what it is. It's not something that I have on my CV as a speciality. If you look 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen the word CV the word bioeconomy associated with me. And what it is an economy that's built on renewable resources that come from a biological origin, as opposed to our traditional economy, which is based on extraction of finite fossil resources. So it's effectively a way of transitioning economy to allow us to keep going for the long term in the future. And it works on the basis of planned and intended sustainable utilization of resources within the confines of the planetary boundary. So that is the environmental dimension of sustainability. But it also requires that the people who are engaged with it are satisfied with it and can work with it and like it. And that is also then the social dimension of sustainability. And of course, it has to be financially viable. So that there is a financial dimension. And the 3 of these dimensions we put together in a strong sustainability model. And what we're doing in the centre is we have platforms looking at separation, how to get raw materials from complex matrix, conversion, how to convert those into valuable products and cascade down a cascade of value so that once we've used something once, we use it again. The word circular that appeared earlier only came in the title after we'd been funded, not before. And that's a real challenge for bioeconomy. Circularization is not trivial if you think about virtual water trade and transfer of nutrients around the world. And of course, all this then has to be done in a sustainable manner. And to give you some idea of the value of it, and this is just one example of many, the global chemical market is estimated to be about 2.5 trillion euro. And the OECD have estimated that 25% of that market could be bio-based by 2025, given the right R&D investment. So we believe that we've now got the first step of that investment, that we're going in that direction. And we're open for business to partner with people who want to go in that same direction with us, looking at bioeconomy in a sustainable manner. So the centre is really all about people. All SFI centres are, but in our mindset, those people are not just the researchers. So we have the excellent chemists, microbiologists, material scientists, chemical engineers that you would expect. We also have the sustainability experts, so people like myself from biosystems engineering, but we then have social scientists, planners, policymakers, economists, and business school people involved in this. And I think I'm right in saying that in terms of the scale of that multidisciplinary collaboration, we're probably the first centre of its kind that's gone so far as to integrate that in the research programme. The other part of people that is really important to us is our engagement with stakeholders. So we believe that our stakeholders are as important and have as much to say to us as we do to say to them, which is a slight transition in the normal scientific thinking. And it's one that we've learned the hard way, I guess. And to facilitate that knowledge exchange, we're developing what we're calling a knowledge hub. And I would love to be able to tell you what that looks like and what it is and how it functions. But it's actually a research deliverable. So in the next 3 to 5 years, I should be able to describe it. But the idea is that it will enable a bidirectional knowledge exchange and collaborative governance of the bioeconomy in a way that really isn't seen in traditional economy. And this perspective of dealing with stakeholders and front-loading sustainability also appears in the Harvest network. And this is why we believe we should be collaborating more closely. And while we're probably in the minority in terms of the types of research centres out there at the moment, we believe that we're a blueprint for the future, that nearly all centres will have to follow this path. So just to wrap up on Beacon, the PIs of Beacon met, the principal investigators, acronyms that we fall into, they met a few weeks ago and defined a mission for the centre. And the mission has nothing to do with bioeconomy as such. It's to develop a vibrant, sustainable community, or vibrant, sustainable communities. We see what we're doing as being the underpinning of maintaining rural communities. And the Harvest Network is doing a similar thing by focusing on small and medium-sized farms. And most, in fact, all of our industrial partners are based outside Dublin. They're not in the major urban conurbation in Ireland. And this is really closely associated with government policies to target rural job creation. And we see all the things we're doing now reflected in the bioeconomy plan for Ireland that was publicised last week by the Taoiseach's office. And this recognition of vibrant rural communities is really why we're made to work together in the future. We can't really ignore the fact that there is something out there that is so well aligned to us. So before I talk about how we're going to collaborate, I'm going to hand over to Divya, and she can talk a little bit about the Harvest Research Collaboration Network.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you, SFI, for inviting me here and giving me the chance to address you all. So I'm going to talk about Harvest. This is an NSF-funded research coordination network as of September 2017, so we are very new. And the idea for the network, the goal is to improve the viability of small and mid-sized farms and approach that problem through a convergence of research disciplines. So that gives us a broader perspective than what any single traditional research discipline would normally look at this problem as. So before I talk about what the network actually does, I'd like to just place the problem in context. So we're losing small and mid-sized farms in the US. Farms are getting bigger, and the number of farms are getting smaller. So in the last 15 years, we have lost about 1/4 of all small and mid-sized farms here in America. And this happens along with the numerous social and environmental benefits that are associated with these farms. And then farms have broader impacts on the rural communities associated with them. So it's not just farmland and the workers in the farm, but it's the diversity in farming practices as far as the environment is concerned, but it's also the vibrancy of our rural societies from a social perspective. So this has several implications for our society. And the primary reasons for these have been farm exits, that younger generation of farmers, of workers, don't want to be in farming. As workers get older and retire, they're not being replaced by younger workers. And the second biggest reason, of course, is business failure. So they're being competed out by large corporate firms. So there's technology, and technology is supposed to be leveling the playing field here. And there's been dramatic technology infused into agriculture in the last couple of decades. Whether this technology is permeating, though, to the small and mid-sized farms is the question, and they are sadly not, and there's various reasons for that as well. Some of them simply being affordability. The scale and scope of technology being developed isn't appropriate for a small farmer to deploy on their farms. But the other has to do with social and cultural barriers as well, as to small farmers even being aware of some technologies or deciding to invest in them or trust in them. So these are some issues that we work around. And this is the structure of Harvest. So we have engineers doing robotics and other technological innovations. That's the innovation through technology hexagon. These work closely with human factors, scientists, and engineers. So people engaged in human-centered design as well as health and safety professionals that make sure that whatever gets put on the farm is safe to use and farmers get appropriate training and so on. So I myself belong to that hexagon. We work very closely with extension specialists and outreach coordinators, as this is critical to our mission. If farmers have to use what is out there, they first have to know what is there. And we are quite fortunate in the depth of this particular hexagon through our connections in Virginia Tech, because we have connections with beginning farmer coalitions, with the statewide agriability network, with the National Agriability Project, with the state disability, aging, rehabilitation services, and so on. So the idea for this hexagon is to bring farmers to the table, make them part of the conversation as designs are happening, instead of wait for something to happen and go wrong and then try to fix it. And we have two kinds of modeling people involved here, both from the sustainability engineering hexagon and the systems folks. So they do systems level models of what the impact of this technology is in two different directions. One is on the environment itself, and that's an excellent example of how Nick will be involved. And the other is socio-technical systems modeling on people, on the workers, on their impressions and attitudes and uptake of this technology and how it changes their social futures. And finally, the green hexagon is about the future. It's about what do people in education need to think about in terms of education and training for the next generations of workers. If they need to take up agriculture, then the skill set they need is changing dramatically because of all this new technology. So what is it that we should be thinking about and planning ahead for the future? So that's just a brief story of what Harvest is all about. And these are our 3 goals. So we would like to embed technology development within an affordable, sustainable, and human-centered framework. And as we go, we'd like to evaluate the risks and benefits of emerging technologies. So engineers need to have this end of the responsibility to brought into the processes, the idea with that aim. And finally, like I mentioned, we'd like to facilitate and inform education for the future generations. And our network has several outstanding national and international partners. Notably, the Beacon Center is somebody that we will be signing an MOU with today, just after I'm done talking. But we have really enjoyed learning about these different centers across the world, as well as having this opportunity to share and exchange knowledge and ideas and inspiration, if I may say that. So, thank you.
So today, as said, we're going to actually sign a memorandum of understanding. We were going to do it as a bit of gloss here, but we decided not to. That seemed a little bit crass. So we are signing a memorandum of understanding between the SFI Beacon Bioeconomy Research Centre and Harvest, the NSF RCN based out of Virginia Tech. And while the centre and the network are focused on different things, bioeconomy and the small and medium-sized farms, they both have at their heart the idea of vibrant, sustainable rural communities. And in my view, they're also required for vibrant, sustainable urban communities that require food and other resources to flourish. And our emphasis on the stakeholder and sustainability is what makes us so compatible, and the idea that we will do the right thing at the right time and in the right place. And I'd note that I was eager to be invited to be on the International Advisory Board for, or steering group, sorry, for Harvest. So about a year ago, I was asked to put my name forward to do that, and I was delighted to do it because I could see this convergence with what we're doing and the things that we were planning with the Beacon Centre. So it seems like a really, really good opportunity to get academics and industry together across the US, Ireland and beyond, because our partnerships go all around the world, but we're now becoming the point of contact for that. And on a personal note, I want to just highlight the fact that we've been working with Virginia Tech for a long time. So since I think 2000, the school I'm in, Biosystems and Food Engineering, has had student exchanges with Virginia Tech, with Biological Systems Engineering. Mary Lee Wolfe is here, who's the head of that school. If you're not sure what those mean, that's just ag engineering translated into the modern world. We've had Marie Curie Fellows hosted in BSE in Virginia Tech. We've had EU-US grants for curriculum development. We currently have some American Society of Agriculture and Biological Engineering funding to work on a digital library and a textbook. So we have a long history of collaboration, and I think that's a really solid foundation to build something that's much bigger. So we're going from an institute-to-institute scale to multiple institutes in networks, but we know that we can do this well and it will be successful. And to give you some idea of what we're doing in the short term, we start work tomorrow. So tomorrow we have the first planning meeting for the first workshop that will be held in Washington in May as part of the Harvest Network. The following week, Dr. Alexandra Leonessa, who is a professor in mechanical engineering in Virginia Tech, who specializes in robotics, he will be talking in UCD at the Internet of Things for Food conference that we're hosting there, and that Science Foundation Ireland are also supporting. And then we're taking it from there. We're planning exchanges of faculty, postdocs and PIs, and hopefully industry as well. We're looking to contribute to each other's seminars and workshops, hold joint meetings, but most importantly, and what this is all leading to, is we're looking for the glue that will stick us together, the research applications, the idea and the research applications that will give us the money to be able to work together in the long term. So we see this as being something that isn't a one-year thing or a 5-year thing. We see it as something that can run for much longer than that and be really successful into the future. So with that, I just want to thank you for listening, and I want to acknowledge the support of Science Foundation Ireland and the National Science Foundation. Thank you very much.